So we have to set the scene. We are about 10 years into the promise God gave Abram. God told him, "You're going to be a father of a great nation." But here's the problem. Abram is 85 and his wife Sarai is 75. And let's be real, nothing is happening. Side note, have you ever felt like God hit the pause button on your life? That's exactly where this couple is. They are rich in livestock and silver, but bankrupt in the one area that mattered most to them, having a child. Sarai is tired of waiting. She looks at the calendar, looks at the mirror, and decides it's time to help God out. Spoiler alert, it is never a good idea to try to become God's project manager. She goes to Abram and says, "Look, the Lord has kept me from having children, but I have this Egyptian maidservant, Hagar. Sleep with her. Maybe I can build a family through her." Now, this sounds wild to us in modern America, but back in the ancient Near East, this was actually a legally accepted loophole. If a wife couldn't provide an heir, she could give her servant to her husband as a surrogate. The child would legally belong to the wife. So Sarai pitches the plan. And Abram, he doesn't say, "Let's pray about it," or "Honey, God promised us a son." The Bible just says, "And Abram listened to the voice of Sarai." He agrees. He takes Hagar as a secondary wife. The plan works instantly. And as a leader, washes his hands. Look, he implies affliction or abuse. It gets so bad that Hagar, pregnant and alone, decides she would rather face the desert than stay in that tent. She runs away. Hagar is fleeing towards Shur, which is on the way back to Egypt, her homeland. She stops by a spring of water in the wilderness, probably exhausted and terrified. This is where the story gets beautiful. The angel of the Lord finds her. Notice that? He found her. She wasn't looking for him. She was just running. This is the first time in the Bible the angel of the Lord appears, and many theologians believe this is a pre-incarnate appearance of Jesus. He asks a question he already knows the answer to. "Hagar, servant of Sarai, where have you come from and where are you going?" He calls her by name. To Sarai and Abram, she was just a uterus, a solution to a problem. To God, she is Hagar. She says, "I'm running away from my mistress." The angel tells her something hard. Go back and submit to her. Ouch. That's not what she wanted to hear. But then he gives her a promise that usually only the patriarchs get. He says, "I will multiply your descendants so they cannot be numbered." He tells her to name the baby Ishmael, which means God hears. Why? Because the Lord has given heed to your affliction. He also gives a prophecy about the boy. He will be a wild donkey of a man, which sounds like an insult to us, but in that culture, the wild donkey was a symbol of freedom and survival in the desert. He's saying, your son won't be a slave. He will be free, untamable, and a force to be reckoned with. This is the climax of the chapter. Hagar is so blown away that the God of her masters would come out to the desert to talk to a runaway Egyptian slave that she gives God a nickname. She calls him El Roi. In Hebrew, this means the God who sees me. She says, "Have I really seen the one who sees me and stayed alive?" She realizes she matters. She isn't just a prop in Abram's story. She is the lead character in her own story with God. They name the well there Bir Lahai Roi, which means well of the living one who sees me. Hagar goes back. It must have been incredibly humbling, but she goes back with a secret. God is on my side too. She gives birth to a son. And here is a subtle, cool detail. When the baby is born, Abram calls his name Ishmael. Think about that. Hagar must have told Abram, "I met God in the desert. He told me to name him God Hears." And Abram listened. The chapter ends with Abram being 86 years old. If we were sitting at a coffee shop, here's what I'd tell you this story is really about. Our plan B usually creates a mess. Abram and Sarai tried to force God's hand, and it created a family conflict that lasted for generations. You are never invisible. You might feel like a second-class citizen used by people, or stuck in a messy situation that isn't your fault. But Hagar's story proves that God meets us in the wilderness. He knows your name, He hears your misery, and He is the God who sees.